I traveled through time with my best friend, she became the crown prince. As for me, I ended up as a eunuch. My bestie waved her hand grandly, promising we'd share wealth and glory from now on. I'm not that greedy. So I simply said, I want to work at Yangji Hall. My best friend immediately approved it. 3 days later, the commander of the Imperial Guard, blushing, dragged me by the collar to my best friend. With a dark expression, my best friend demanded, "You didn't tell me Yangji Hall is a giant bathhouse." Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful stories every day. Now the story begins. My best friend Jiang Ning and I had planned to go hiking together when we were suddenly caught in a heavy rain. The mountain path became slippery, and Jiang Ning accidentally tumbled down the slope. In that split second as she fell, she instinctively grabbed me, and so, we died together. When I woke up again, I had already crossed over to another world. At this very moment, I was kneeling on the execution ground, utterly bewildered. It's high noon, execution begins immediately. Me, what's the point of time traveling anyway? As the corpulent executioner approached, I took a deep breath and urgently began reciting under my breath, "Odd functions stay odd, even stay even. The sign depends on the quadrant. Imperial Jade Liquor, 180 per cup. Love you walking alone in dark alleys. Love your unyielding stance that won't kneel." The crowd stared at me with shock and doubt. Wrong. Why is it still not right? Did the code not match? Are there no revolutionary comrades beneath me? Through tears, I uttered the final line. Listen to me. Thank you. Because of you, Jiangning, I thank your whole family. The executioner roared, "Audacious prisoner, how dare you address His Highness the Crown Prince by his personal name?" I froze for a moment. The next second, the surrounding crowd began to stir as someone shouted loudly, "The Crown Prince arrives, all commoners make way." I abruptly looked up and saw a figure running toward me against the light. Even his running posture was so familiar. Jiang Ning ran over panting. "I could hear your tone-deaf singing from the next street over. Yi Bei, how did you end up in such a sorry state?" 2 clear streams of tears rolled down my cheeks. Woo-woo, I was moved, but didn't dare move. There was still a knife pressed against my neck. My best friend brought me back to her Eastern palace. I became her personal little eunuch. Oh right, she's now the crown prince. In other words, I've latched onto a powerful patron. According to Jiang Ning, her current identity is that of a crown prince who's been forced to disguise herself as a man due to court pressure. Listen to this, such a protagonist-worthy setup. As for me, just a lazy bum. Every day I just follow Jiang Ning around the palace, eating and sightseeing to my heart's content, a bit decadent, but satisfying. A month later, I walked up to Jiang Ning with a serious expression. "I've made up my mind, I can't keep living this degenerate life." Jiang Ning looked up at me, so, I stared at her intently. "I need to find a job to fulfill my life's purpose. I've already picked the place, it's at Yangji Hall." Jiang Ning froze for a moment. "What kind of place is that?" "I don't think I've heard of it." I rubbed my nose. "Well, it's just a place that exists." Jiang Ning didn't ask further and granted permission with a wave of his hand. Suppressing a laugh, I turned and returned to my room. The next evening, dressed in eunuch's attire and carrying the token Jiang Ning had given me, I reported to the Yangji Hall. As soon as I arrived, the supervising eunuch thrust a wooden bucket into my hands. "You came just in time. All the Imperial Guards are here today, go in and refill the water immediately." I nodded blankly, then walked in with clumsy, stiff movements. The Hall of Rippling Extremes, a name so profound it sounded mystical, was in reality just a large bathhouse. In my previous life, I was ascetic and altruistic. Working here was exactly what I deserved. Huff huff, I took a deep breath and went in with the bucket. Inside, the air was thick with swirling steam and mist, making it hard to see how many people were there. Judging by the clamor, there must have been quite a crowd. I was walking with my head down when I bumped into someone, a person of light. I immediately lowered my head again. As expected, my mental resilience still isn't strong enough. "Here to refill the water," I stammered in reply. "Why yes." He pointed to the innermost cubicle. "Take it to our boss first. Make sure he's well taken care of." I nodded and walked over there with the bucket. The compartment wasn't large, but it was more spacious than other areas, and there was a strong medicinal smell inside. I glanced at the clothes placed at the entrance, on which there was also a token, Imperial Guard Commander, Lu Fengran. Wow, quite a high-ranking official. I took a few steps further inside and saw, under the flickering orange candlelight, a perfectly sculpted back facing me. His lower body was submerged in the pool, his back muscles well proportioned, with broad shoulders tapering to a narrow waist, and his skin a healthy wheat-colored hue. In other words, not bad at all. I glanced a few times, then quickly averted my gaze. I carried the bucket over and began pouring it into the pool, stealing a glance at the water inside. TSK. It's a medicinal bath, the water's pitch black. Couldn't see a damn thing. I had just poured it when I heard a sharp hiss. Lu Fengran's voice was low as he asked, "New here?" I froze for a moment before hurriedly setting the bucket down and reaching into the pool. Is the water too hot? My fingers brushed against his thigh, and my mind went completely blank with a buzzing sound. Lu Fengran grabbed my wrist, his gaze dangerously intense. "Where were you stationed before? How can you be so clumsy?" He was extraordinarily handsome, with sharp brows and starry eyes, his features brimming with heroic vigor. The searing heat from his grip burned my skin. And I stammered in reply, the Eastern Palace." His voice grew even deeper. "You're the Crown Prince's person." I kept my head down, looking for a chance to run. This person's aura was too overpowering. Though I had the heart of a thief, I lacked the guts to act on it, but he gripped my wrist tightly, and for a moment, I couldn't break free. Just as I was about to bring up the Crown Prince to save myself, I heard Lu Fengran exclaim in shock, "You're a woman." Me. Holy shit. What's going on here? Jiangning disguised herself as a man for over a decade without being discovered, yet I got caught after just 10 some days. While I was still in shock, Lu Fengran had already released my hand and grabbed a nearby garment to throw over my head. By the time I frantically pulled the clothes away, he was already dressed and standing before me. I gave him a wry smile. "Oh dear, this is a disaster." Lu Fengran grabbed me by the collar and dragged me to the Eastern Palace like catching a chicken. I covered my face the whole way, but it was no use, my dignity was already in tatters. When we reached the Eastern Palace, I was tossed aside while Lu Fengran went straight to find Jiangning. Half an hour later, Lu Fengran emerged from Jiangning's study. As he passed by me, he gave me a look, one that was hard to decipher. Jiangning emerged behind him, her smile positively sinister. "Rest assured, Commander Lu, I'll discipline her properly." After Lu Fengran left, I threw myself at Jiangning's legs with a thud. I was wrong. Jiangning gnashed her teeth. "You never told me Yangji Palace was a giant bathhouse." Me. "How about, I take you along next time?" Jiangning curled her lips. "That's more like it. But stay away from that Lu Fengran from now on." I froze for a moment. "Why?" Jiangning said. "Him. You can't afford to mess with him." She said that Lu Fengran was a merciless killing machine, cold-blooded and ruthless, someone to stay away from. I instinctively replied, "He doesn't seem like that." Jiangning, "Oh, have you seen through the surface to the truth?" Just as I was about to explain, I heard her add another remark. "I can see you're just lusting after their body." Me, "I'm not a pervert." Jiangning shrugged. "No difference." I stayed silent for a few seconds and didn't say anything more. After all, the difference really isn't that significant. Jiangning grabbed my hand excitedly. Come on, fresh grapes just arrived today, let's go feast Tilda." "Hell yeah." Jiangning and I sat in the backyard, lounging on the daybed, basking in the sunlight, living the sweet life. I picked up a grape and whistled at her. "Here, catch." She immediately struck a pose, opening her mouth. I tossed it forward. And the crystal-clear grape traced a perfect arc through the air before landing precisely in Jiangning's mouth. Nice. Player Jiang remains in top form today. This is a game Jiangning and I used to play together, and playing it again now fills me with nostalgia. We tossed grapes back and forth for a long time, thoroughly enjoying ourselves. Finally, holding the last grape, I stood far away from her and said, "Let's up the difficulty." Jiangning opened her mouth wide with a grin. But just as I was about to throw it, she suddenly froze. "TSK, what are you spacing out for? Get ready," I shouted, but she didn't react at all, staring blankly behind me. Puzzled, I turned my head to follow her gaze. An elegant and dignified woman stood behind me, her expression rather unpleasant. My body stiffened with shock as I turned my head rigidly to look at Jiangning. "Who is it?" I silently mouthed the words. Jiangning smiled, though it looked more painful than tears. "Crown Princess. You've returned." I shuddered violently and flipped Jiangning the bird. Then I turned around, knelt on the ground, and shouted, "Greetings, Crown Princess. May the Crown Princess enjoy boundless fortune and peace." Woo woo, knowing when to yield and when to stand firm, that's me in a nutshell. Jiangning, as the Crown Prince, did indeed have a Crown Princess. A few days ago, I went back to my parents' home, and only now have I returned to the palace. I just found out about this now. "But you're a woman," I reminded her. "Jiangning, the Crown Prince is impotent, so the Crown Princess and he have never consummated their marriage." Me, thus, The crown princess doesn't know the crown prince is actually a woman. After a long silence, I said, this isn't very fair to her. Jiang Ning nodded, I agree. But there's nothing to be done. When I transmigrated here, things were already like this. She paused, then turned to look at me. Shouldn't you be worrying about yourself? The crown princess, Tang Qing, called me a pretty boy who seduced the crown prince and insisted on sending me to the Dark Court Bureau. What kind of place is that? It's where they send eunuchs and palace maids who've made mistakes for labor reform. How could a young girl like me possibly go there? No. I clung to Jiang Ning's leg and wailed, Sister, you can't just stand by and watch me die. Jiang Ning massaged her temples and said, that Tang Qing is the Prime Minister's daughter, spoiled rotten on a good day. If I don't get you out of here, who knows when she might just finish you off. I was shocked. Her words made perfect sense. If she's willing to exile me now when I'm just a eunuch, what would happen if she ever found out I'm actually a woman? It doesn't bear thinking about. No way. Survival comes first. I scrambled to my feet and immediately turned to leave. Jiang Ning, what are you doing? Without looking back. Packing my bags, getting ready to run, I fled from the Eastern Palace to the Dark Court Bureau, where my treatment took a nosedive. Fortunately, Jiang Ning still had a conscience and ordered people to look after me specially. Life wasn't too bad after all, but peaceful days never last long. That day, I had just finished washing a large tub of clothes and was basking in the sun in the courtyard. The courtyard gate was suddenly pushed open. A fierce-looking matron barged in with her entourage. She stood before me, looking down her nose at me. So your little leaf. I froze for a moment. Yes, she sneered. You're exactly who we're looking for. Guards, seize him. I stared in horror as several people instantly surrounded me. What the hell is this about? The old matron. Someone has accused you of stealing palace property. This is truly a heinous crime. Me, I see. This is a frame-up. Most likely, Jiang Ning came to see me a few days ago and Tang Qing found out about it. So now, I'm the one who gets the short end of the stick. I calmed down. I want to see Matron Zhong. The matron slapped me directly. You pretty boy still think the crown prince will save you. That slap of hers left me stunned. In 2 lifetimes, this young lady has never been hit like this before. My fiery temper. Taking advantage of her distraction, I lifted my foot and kicked straight at her. Ouch! She staggered from my kick, and those nearby instinctively reached out to steady her. I took advantage of the chaos to make a run for it. Jiangning, save me. Your sister is done for. I didn't even make it to the Eastern Palace before they caught me. You still dare to run? The matron panted in front of me. Take her to the punishment bureau. Let's tighten her skin properly. My pupils literally trembled with shock. It's over. I suddenly lost all strength, collapsing to the ground like a dead fish. The mournful BGM plays in my ears. Snowflakes drift. The north wind howls tilde. Who dares make such noise here? A loud shout came from the distance. Startled, I quickly looked up toward the sound. Lu Fengran, clad in light armor with a dark sword hanging at his waist, strode toward us. What is this? This is my hope for survival. Lu Fengran clearly froze for a moment when he saw me, then turned to ask the matron. What crime has she committed? The nanny replied respectfully, reporting to Lord Lu, he stole valuables from the palace. Lu Fengran gave her a casual glance. Oh, is there evidence? Before the nanny could speak, I spoke first. There isn't. They're slandering me. The old nurse merely sneered. Evidence? Of course there is. Someone, strip off his clothes. The evidence is hidden on his person. Me, it came back to me, I was wearing a glass bead. Jiangning had casually tossed it to me to play with, but now, it was about to become evidence that I had stolen valuables from the palace. As those palace maids were about to strip off my clothes, in desperation, I immediately clung to Lu Fengran's thigh. Commander Lu, save me. Lu Fengran's body stiffened, and he gave me a slightly surprised glance. The palace maids halted in unison, not daring to advance further. I took the bead from my waist and said to the old nanny, this is the only thing I have on me. It was given to me by Commander Lu. Lu Fengran. The old nurse scoffed. Reward you? What makes you think you deserve a reward? I declared with righteous confidence. Because I served well at Yangji Hall. The matron looked at me with suspicion and disbelief. Don't you dare get slick with me. When have you ever worked at Yangji Hall? I continued. Commander Lu has a knife scar on his left shoulder, a burn on his right waist. And further down there's also. Lu Fengran immediately clapped a hand over my mouth. Me. His voice grew somewhat heavy. I can testify that she did serve at Yangji Hall, and that bead was indeed bestowed upon her by me. The matron stared at us, momentarily stunned. Lu Fengran. Does the matron have any other business? Startled, The matron quickly regained her composure. No, nothing at all. Then, I won't disturb Commander Lu on his patrol. This humble maid takes her leave. With that, she hastily fled with the group of young palace maids in tow. I took a deep breath, then slowly exhaled. This little life of mine was spared. The next second, what? Still not done hugging, I trailed slowly behind Lu Fengran. After a few steps, he turned to look at me. Why are you following me? Me, no. I'm taking this path too. Truth is, I was afraid of being captured and killed again. I figured sticking with him for now would probably keep me safe. Lu Fengran fell silent for a moment, then ignored me completely. I followed him. Just as I saw him turn into the alley ahead, I quickened my pace. The moment I rounded the corner, I collided head-on with a suit of hard armor. Oof! The impact made my vision go black. When I looked up again, what met my eyes was Lu Fengran's Adam's apple. Since I'd been caught tailing him, I decided to come clean. Commander Lu, please be merciful and take me in for a few days. Lu Fengran didn't even think before replying. No, me. At least pretend to think about it. I pondered for a moment. How about you deliver a message to the Crown Prince for me? Lu Fengran looked at me with an inscrutable gaze. Was your last visit to Yangji Hall at the Crown Prince's behest? I froze. The question came out of nowhere. I answered truthfully, no. I went there on my own. Lu Fengran frowned. What's a woman doing going to the Yangji Hall? I remained utterly sincere. To see you, Lu Fengran. I looked at him, then slowly spoke. You're handsome, dignified, well-built, and commanding. Isn't it perfectly normal for me to want to see you? Lu Fengran was completely stunned. He looked at me with a somewhat puzzled expression. Probably because he had never seen a woman as shameless as me. Indeed, women in ancient times would peek at handsome men furtively, and if caught, would be mortified to death. They are not as open-hearted as I am. Ha 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 ha. Under my direct gaze, Commander Lu's ears turned red. Without another glance at me, he turned and walked away. I hurried to catch up. Lu Fengran didn't turn around. Stop following me. I let out an "oh," then stopped. Then I'll go to Yangji Hall. There should be places to stay there. Commander Lu's voice carried a hint of gritted teeth. Get back here. I curled the corner of my lips and jogged to catch up. Are you afraid I'll get the short end of the stick? Lu Fengran, I'm afraid my Imperial Guards brothers will get the short end of the stick. Me, accidentally hit the nail on the head there. Lu Fengran took me to the place where he usually rested during his shifts at the palace. The room was small but very clean. Lu Fengran pointed to the small bed inside. You'll sleep there tonight. Tomorrow morning, I'll have someone from the Eastern Palace come to fetch you. Seeing him turn to leave, I quickly called out to stop him. Commander Lu, may I ask you something? He halted his steps. What is it? I asked him. Can you tell me about the Crown Prince? What's his current situation in the Imperial Court? After Lu Fengran left, I sat by the bed in a daze for a long while. He said Crown Prince Jiangning was in a precarious position at court, with the Regent King watching him like a tiger in front and several brothers hot on his heels. Now, the only one he could rely on was Chancellor Tang, but Chancellor Tang had always looked down on him, considering him weak and incompetent, unfit for heavy responsibilities. Thus, though Jiangning appeared glorious as the Crown Prince, in reality, he was utterly wretched. No wonder I often see Jiang Ning sitting alone in the courtyard, lost in thought. No wonder the candlelight in her study burns through the night. No wonder she smiles less than before. It turns out, I was the only one enjoying peaceful times. That night, I lay in bed watching the moonlight streaming through the window, unable to sleep the whole night. The next day, Lu Fengran came very early. The Crown Prince isn't in the Eastern Palace. I'll go look for him later. I rubbed my face. No need. He glanced at me. Not going back to the Eastern Palace. I smiled. No, going back would just cause her more trouble. I'll hide here with you for a couple days. Once things calm down, I'll return to my Dark Court division. Lu Fengran didn't speak, handing me the food box in his hand. Brought you something to eat. I took it over with joy. Commander Lu is so kind. Lu Fengran, don't say such things casually in the future. I was too focused on the food in the lunchbox and didn't quite catch what he said. What words shouldn't be spoken? Lu Fengran paused, then sighed. Never mind, let's eat. I never expected that hiding at his place would stretch into 5 whole days. On the evening of the 5th day, as I packed my belongings and tidied the room spotlessly before heading back to the Dark Court Bureau, the door suddenly burst open. I was startled and instinctively grabbed the vase beside me. When I saw who it was, I hastily put the vase down in panic. Commander Lu, what's wrong with you? He stumbled in, then gritted his teeth and said, close the door. I closed the door behind me, and he had already collapsed on the floor. What's going on here? I hurried over to help him onto the bed, only realizing my hands were covered in blood when I let go. Because he was wearing black armor, it wasn't immediately obvious that he was injured. I didn't think too much and quickly helped him remove his armor. A broken arrow was embedded in his shoulder, with more than half of the arrowhead buried inside. My hands trembled as I dared not touch him. This is. He gasped for breath a few times, his voice slightly hoarse. Assassins infiltrated the palace. I was caught off guard and took an arrow. Assassin. That Jiang Ning. My heart skipped a beat. I was utterly panicked. Lu Fengran glanced at me. Don't worry, the crown prince is unharmed. I let out a sigh of relief and looked up to meet his eyes, feeling somewhat guilty. I didn't ask her. Lu Fengran ignored me, using his teeth to tear off a strip of cloth and bandage his own shoulder. He said to me, "Help me pull it out." Me, how do I pull this out? I only know how to pull radishes. I've got no clue about this thing. I turned and headed out. I'll go find the imperial physician for you. There's no time, Lu Fengran said. The assassins in the palace haven't all been eliminated. If I don't return soon, they'll know I'm injured and will surely take desperate measures to strike again. I turned to look at him, and he was looking back at me, with a flicker in my eyes. I sighed and walked back. How do I pull it out? He reached out and took my hand, guiding it to touch his shoulder. His body temperature was frighteningly hot. I tried to pull back several times, but he held me tightly, leaving me unable to move. Just pull it out directly. I walked behind him and couldn't help but close my eyes at the sight of that ghastly wound. Bear with it a little, Lu Fengran scoffed. What's this? I've had worse before. Ouch. Before he could finish speaking, I'd already made my move swift, precise, and ruthless, just as expected of me. I held the broken arrow and leaned in to ask him, "Does it hurt?" Lu Fengran was sweating bullets, but couldn't help smiling. "It's fine. You did well." After just a short rest, he went out again as if nothing had happened. Before leaving, he said, "Don't go out. Stay here and wait. Wait for me to come back." I waited until dawn, but he didn't return. From dawn till dusk I waited again, yet still he didn't come back. So I packed my bags and returned to my dark court division. Jiang Ning stood in my courtyard, motionless. I was startled. "What are you doing?" Jiang Ning turned to look at me, the corners of his eyes red, then strode forward and burst into tears with a loud wail. "I thought you were gone." I froze. "Didn't Lu Fengran tell you I was hiding at his place?" Jiang Ning hugged me, crying as she spoke. "I told you he's not someone to be trifled with. He's the regent's man. There's no way he took you away with good intentions." I fell silent. Truth be told, I was the one who insisted on following him, but I definitely couldn't say that, or I'd get scolded again. If something happened to you, how could I go on living here? After crying for a while, Jiang Ning's nose was all red. I patted her heartbrokenly. "It's okay, I'm here." Jiang Ning said Lu Fengran was the regent's man, his eyes and ears in the palace. I didn't believe it at first, because I always felt Lu Fengran didn't seem like a bad person, but later I began to have doubts, because Lu Fengran was promoted on the regent's recommendation. He was transferred to the capital's patrol battalion, and after that, he rarely served in the palace anymore. Jiang Ning came to see me every few days, bringing me many things. "How about you come back to the Eastern Palace with me?" After a moment of silence, I replied, "No, I might be more helpful to you if I stay outside." If I went to the Eastern Palace, I would only cause trouble for her. Jiang Ning tried to persuade me for a long time, but I didn't agree. In the end, she let me be. Days passed one after another, and I lived quite comfortably in the Dark Court division. Occasionally when going out, I would run into Lu Fengran, who came to the palace to report on his duties. He seemed quite happy and wanted to come over to talk to me. I lowered my head and ran away. I thought, this imperial palace could devour people. And if I wasn't careful, both Jiangning and I would lose our lives. We couldn't act as we pleased. The day before the Mid-Autumn Festival, Jiangning came to see me. "She's lost a lot of weight and doesn't look well. Tomorrow is the palace banquet. Don't go out casually. Stay put at the Dark Court division." Her tone was grave, and my heart skipped a beat. "What's wrong?" Jiang Ning looked at me with something between a smile and tears. "Bebe, the regent is about to rebel. I'm afraid my days as crown prince are numbered." She didn't have time to say much to me, and after giving me a few instructions, she hurried off again. The next evening, I paced back and forth in the courtyard. As the sky gradually darkened, after the first crow's cry, sudden clamor and commotion erupted from the direction of Chenkuan Palace. Cries, curses, and the clashing of blades all tangled together. My heart burned with anxiety. This was the first time I'd felt so utterly powerless. The sounds persisted endlessly until, half an hour later, only a chaotic patter of footsteps could be heard nearby. Stop, catch her. I huddled in the corner, not daring to make a sound. Bang! The courtyard gate was suddenly slammed open. A palace maid stumbled in, falling before she could take 2 steps. She landed right in front of me. I stared at her in horror, yet she clung to my foot as if I were her lifeline. I wanted to withdraw but couldn't pull back. The palace maid struggled to shove something into my hands. It was an imperial edict. Go, outside the palace, find Lu Fengran, tell him to come quickly, come save his majesty. The sound of approaching footsteps grew louder outside. I quickly snapped back to attention. Stuffing the imperial edict into my clothes and dragging the palace maid to my hiding spot to conceal her, I climbed over the wall from the backyard of the Dark Court Bureau. The place was remote, with few people around. The dog hole in the palace wall hadn't been blocked up either. Taking advantage of my petite frame, I squeezed through the dog hole and sprinted away as fast as I could. I had just stepped out of the palace gate when someone spotted me. Halt! No way was I going to halt. They were chasing me from behind, and I didn't dare pause for even a moment. I had no idea where the patrol battalion was stationed, so I could only dart through streets and alleys like a headless fly. The pursuers behind me were closing in fast, the whooshing sound of blades cutting through the air whistling past my ears. The next instant, a sharp pain shot through my waist, sending me sprawling face-first onto the ground. The soldiers caught up and stomped on my shoulder with their boots. Let's see you run now. With that, he raised his long sword high. It's aimed at my neck. This time, I'm probably really going to die. I tightly shut my eyes. The blade didn't fall. Instead, I heard the whistling sound of a swift arrow. The soldier who had been stepping on me groaned and suddenly released the pressure from his foot. I opened my eyes and looked up. At the mouth of the alley, Lu Fengran sat astride his horse, his bow still drawn. He dismounted and ran toward me. I struggled to get up from the ground, but with an arrow in my waist, before I could fully stand, my legs gave way and I nearly fell again. Lu Fengran caught me in his arms. What happened? His armor felt hard against me, yet strangely comforting. I felt so at ease that I nearly dozed off. My consciousness began to blur. I quickly handed him the imperial edict I was holding. There's trouble in the palace. Go save his majesty. See, even at death's door, one can still manage to finish important business. Hey, as expected of me, after saying that, I tilted my head and completely lost consciousness. When I woke up again, half a month had already passed. The regent had staged a rebellion, but it failed. The situation in the palace underwent a dramatic change. Jiang Ning's position as the crown prince was now secure. Lying in bed, Jiang Ning fed me grapes. Lu Fengran arrived just in time to protect his majesty. Otherwise, you might not be seeing me now. I smiled. Don't worry, if it weren't for him, I'd have kicked the bucket before you. Lu Fengran was never the regent's man, from start to finish. He belonged to the emperor, planted as a chess piece by the regent's side. But the regent, ever suspicious by nature, ultimately couldn't bring himself to trust him. On the day of the palace coup, he made sure to send Lu Fengran away. Lu Fengran has made great contributions and is now promoted to a higher position with wealth and honor. Jiang Ning also mentioned that the emperor has arranged a marriage for him, betrothing him to the daughter of the chief minister of the Court of Judicial Review. I curled my lips. How wonderful, a perfect match, both talented and beautiful, well suited in social status. Jiang Ning, but your expression looks terrible. My face fell. Yeah, how could forced smiles not look ugly? Jiang Ning raised an eyebrow. What, have you fallen for him? I admitted. Yeah. I've had my eye on him for a long time. I was smitten at first sight when I first went to Yangji Palace. Jiang Ning was left speechless by my words. You don't have to be quite so honest about it, but isn't this just you being swayed by good looks? I rubbed my nose. At first, that was true, but that's not the case anymore. How could I be so shallow? No. Absolutely impossible. As we spoke, a sudden exclamation came from outside the door. Lord Lu, what are you doing standing there? My eyes widened as I turned to exchange a glance with Jiang Ning. Jiang Ning quickly rose to his feet and pulled the door open. Only the young palace maid remained standing outside in a daze. She held a medicine packet in her hand. Jiang Ning asked her, who was outside just now? The young palace maid replied, Lu Fengran. Lord Lu. I was startled. Oh no. My heartfelt confession was overheard by the person involved. Jiang Ning asked again, what are you holding in your hand? The little palace maid replied, Lord Lu asked me to give this to Miss Yi. He said it works wonders for knife and arrow wounds. Heh, looks like my love isn't completely dead after all. Lu Fengran was demoted again. I couldn't help but laugh. with all his promotions and demotions. People might think he's riding an elevator. Jiang Ning gave me a complicated look. Aren't you going to ask why? I paused, surprised. Why? Jiang Ning wore an enigmatic smile at the corner of his mouth. Because he refused the marriage arranged by His Majesty. I stared at her, my mind blank for a few seconds, then I abruptly threw off the covers and swung my legs out of bed. Jiang Ning was taken aback. Where are you going? Your injuries haven't healed yet. I had already reached the doorway and declared loudly, I'm going after a man. From behind me came Jiang Ning's exasperated voice. Can't you at least act a little reserved? No, he's a hot commodity. If I don't go now, someone else will snatch him up. I heard Lu Fengran had just returned from court. I was going to run to the path he must take when leaving the palace to wait for him. Passing by the rear garden, I casually glanced over, then froze. This person looked so familiar. Wasn't this the damn crown princess who'd been scheming to kill me? She stood in the pavilion, occasionally gazing into the distance. After a while, for some reason unknown, she suddenly smiled, a radiant smile it was, instinctively. I followed her line of sight and glanced over there, only had time to catch a glimpse of a man's robe. In a way, Jiangning has turned green. Driven by curiosity, I immediately stepped forward to approach, only to have my collar grabbed the very next second. This familiar feeling. What are you doing here? Lu Fengran's voice came from above my head. I turned to look at him and sneered. Waiting for you. Lu Fengran released his grip on my collar, and when I looked back toward the rear garden, the person was already gone. Lu Fengran walked ahead while I followed behind him. Congratulations on your promotion, Lord Lu. Lu Fengran, just got demoted. I asked again, has Lord Lu's injury improved? Lu Fengran, almost fully recovered. Me, how old is Lord Lu this year? Lu Fengran, 23 years old. I immediately jumped in front of him, leaning in to ask, then does Lord Lu have a sweetheart? Lu Fengran looked at me somewhat startled. How could you, this girl? I stared at him with burning intensity. He grew uncomfortable under my gaze, coughing lightly and turning his head away. I have one. The smile on my lips froze for a second. This was not the answer I had expected. A sudden pang of bitterness welled up in my heart. How could I possibly pursue him now? He already has a girl he likes. I sighed, my spirits instantly deflating. Then I won't disturb Lord Lu any further. I turned to leave, wanting to mourn my dead love. Wait. Lu Fengran suddenly spoke up, his voice urgent as he grabbed my arm. I turned back to look at him in surprise. Lu Fengran looked uncomfortable. Aren't you going to ask more questions? I froze. Ask what? A flush crept up his ears, as if he found it hard to speak, but suddenly, understanding dawned on me like a stroke of genius. Then who's the girl you like? Lu Fengran breathed a sigh of relief, but answered irrelevantly. After knowing each other for so long, I still don't know your name. I replied instinctively, Yi Beibei. My name is Yi Beibei. He looked at me and suddenly smiled. Then the girl I like is Yi Beibei. I don't know how I made it back to the Eastern Palace. My mind was in a complete daze the whole way. Jiang Ning saw me in this state and patted my shoulder reassuringly. It's fine. If you couldn't catch him, just forget it. I'll find you someone even better. I glanced at her and mumbled, no, I actually succeeded in winning his heart. Jiang Ning's hand froze, then her face fell. You really deserve to die. During dinner, I remembered the crown princess I saw in the back garden today. Jiang Ning, I called out to her. Jiang Ning, speak, I said with great seriousness. I saw Tang Qing in the back garden today. Jiang Ning, and then, me. She was with a man. Jiang Ning showed no surprise at all. I know that man is the newly appointed top scholar, Pei Ming. Me. Jiang Ning calmly wiped her mouth. While you were unconscious, Tang Qing and I had a frank conversation. I've already confessed to her about my true identity as a woman. I was shocked. And then, Jiang Ning glanced over. She said she'd known all along. Me, her, Jiang Ning. Whoa. She said I'm effeminate and don't look like a man at all. Me. Thus the two of them reached an agreement. They're currently in a cooperative relationship, with the Tang family helping Jiang Ning ascend the throne. In return, Jiang Ning guarantees the Tang family's prosperity for 100 years. Jiang Ning said, Tang Qing fell in love with Pei Ming at first sight, and it was I who encouraged her to pursue love boldly. As long as it's not discovered, it's fine. I gave her a thumbs up. You're really something. In the 3rd year of my transmigration, I married Lu Fengran as a meritorious hero who helped quell the rebellion. That day, Jiang Ning personally left the palace. She wore a woman's long dress, a veil covering her face, and took my hand to place it in Lu Fengran's. With a radiant smile, she said, I warn you, treat her well, or I'll kill you. Me. Lu Fengran replied, "Your Highness need not worry. We used to always say we'd be each other's bridesmaids, and now that wish has come half true. Ever since Jiang Ning secured her position at court, I've rarely seen her. She became incredibly busy, became decisive and efficient. She's become different from how I remember her. Sometimes I'd ask her, 'Are you really not considering finding someone to be with you?' Jiang Ning shook her head. 'Don't talk to me about romantic nonsense. I just want to focus on my career.' I tentatively asked, 'Do you really want to become emperor?' Jiang Ning shook her head. 'No, I want to be an empress.' Looking at her serious face, I plopped to my knees and hugged her thigh, wailing, 'Woo woo, I'll be your permanent thigh accessory for life.' As it turned out, everything Jiang Ning said was complete bullshit. In her 5th year of transmigration, Jiang Ning divorced Tang Qinghe, publicly revealed her identity as a woman, and became the first female crown prince in the dynasty's history. That same winter, the emperor passed away, and the crown prince smoothly ascended to the throne. Jiang Ning achieved her modest goal, she became empress, so, my maternal family's backing was incomparably powerful. This freeloading life, I'm enjoying it thoroughly. Another spring arrived. I entered the palace to find Jiangning. She came rushing out from the rear hall in a hurry. "Oh my darling." She moved to hug me, but I pushed her away. My eyes widened. "On your neck." The hickey there was unmistakably obvious. She looked somewhat awkward and was about to speak when several more people emerged from the back hall. Men, all very handsome. I stared at Jiang Ning in horror. You. Jiang Ning rubbed his nose. "I'm starting to think that matters of the heart aren't so bad after all." Frustrated by her lack of ambition, I glared. But she simply smiled serenely. "The joys of being an emperor are beyond your understanding. Oh, and I also taught them how to dance like a boy band." I froze for a moment. Then sat down beside her, casually grabbing a handful of melon seeds. Come, let them perform a segment for us. In other words, I've now experienced the joy of being an emperor." Huff huff. While the handsome men were halfway through their dance, sudden footsteps echoed from the front hall. My heart and soul trembled. Those footsteps were so familiar. The next second, I froze for a moment. All the handsome men nearly tripped over their own feet, hastily taking their leave. I bent over and prepared to run. "Madam, where are you going?" I chuckled. Ha. Nowhere. Jiang Ning watched from the sidelines. "Oh, having another fight?" Lu Fengran walked up to me and swept me off my feet in a princess carry. "What's this about running off to the palace the moment I say a few words to you?" I pouted. "Are you scolding me?" Lu Fengran sighed. "No, but you really shouldn't eat too much of that cold food. You're pregnant, after all." He asked me again. "Did you like the dance they performed earlier?" I shook my head. "It wasn't good, not as good as you." Lu Fengran chuckled lightly. "That's more like it." Jiang Ning, she flipped the table over in one swift motion. "Get the hell out of here." Lu Fengran hugged me. "Your servant takes his leave." I waved my hand. "I'm off then." Just as we were about to exit the hall, Jiang Ning called out to me again. "Baby," she said, "after the baby is born, I'm definitely going to be the godmother." I laughed heartily and raised my voice. "Got it." The end.